Okay, again, welcome back. I'm back. I hope you're back too. Let's try to solve some problems to illustrate how do we apply the parallelogram method in solving for the resultant of force systems, force system resultants. Okay, so number one, this is the problem number one also in your modules, and let's just try to again solve it in this video. Okay, number one, determine the magnitude of the resultant of the two forces P and Q and the angle between this resultant and the force Q. So we are to solve for the magnitude of these two forces, 500 Newton force and the 750 Newton force using parallelogram method. And we are to solve also for the angle between the resultant force and the force Q. Okay? So first step natin is to draw parallel lines. So from force P, from the head of force P, importante na medyo naka-scale yung mga forces natin. Kapag mas mababa yung magnitude ng force, mas maliit yung arrow. Pag mas malaki yung magnitude ng force, mas mahaba yung arrow. And importante din yung mga angles natin ay realistic din. Kapag syempre kung steeper, mas malaki yung angle, i-drawing mo na mas malaki yung angle compared sa ibang angles ng forces. Okay, so drawing tayo. So from the head of force P, we draw a parallel line relative to force Q. Drawing natin, parallel ba yan? Hindi yata. Let's try to nahirapan ko sa whiteboard. Okay, yan, parallel. And then from the head of force Q, drawing natin yung parallel line relative to force P. Okay, parallel. Ayan. So nakabuo tayo ng parallelogram. Okay. So the resultant force is the diagonal of the parallelogram. So from the intersection here, you draw the diagonal. So this would be our resultant force. Again, since ito ay parallel dun sa this side of the parallelogram is parallel to force Q, that means they have the same length and same direction. Then therefore this is also 750. The magnitude is the same and the direction is also the same. So this side is also 750 newtons, and this side parallel siya sa force P. So same length, same direction. That means this is also equal to 500 newtons. Okay, so ayan. And the total angle here, yung angle dito, so add lang natin. So angle between force Q and force P, so 50 degrees ito from the horizontal. This is 30 degrees from the horizontal. That means ito ay 80 degrees. So this angle is 80 degrees. Since parallelogram ito, ibig sabihin ito ay 80 degrees. Ayan. I hope you can still remember yung trigonometry ninyo, paano mag-transfer ng angles. So if this is 80 degrees, kung 80 degrees yan, ilan ba ang total interior angle ng parallelogram? Ilan? Yan ang total interior angle ng isang parallelogram. We have 360. So to solve for this angle, So, isolve natin tong angle na to. Let's say angle theta. If this is angle theta, this is also angle theta since we are dealing with a parallelogram. So, to solve for angle theta, so total interior angle ng parallelogram ay 360. Wait lang saglit. Okay. So, to solve for the angle theta, so we know that the total interior angle of the parallelogram is 360 degrees. So, the angle theta is equal to, or angle theta tuloy. We have 360 degrees is equal to the sum of all interior angles. That means twice ng angle theta plus 80 degrees tong angle na to plus 80 degrees means to solve for angle theta, theta is equivalent to beta yung nandun sa module nyo. I've used theta. Anyway, theta na lang. Theta or angle beta is equal to, hindi nakalagay sa module. Iba yung solution sa module. Sige. Okay, so the angle theta is 100 degrees itong angle na to. Okay, so since parehas naman tong triangle na yan tsaka yung triangle na ito, we can isolate either of the two triangles and analyze the triangle to solve for the resultant force. So you may choose to isolate the upper or the lower triangle. Okay, so let's choose na lang yung nasa baba, yung triangle. Okay, drawing natin yung triangle. Okay, so we have sa isolated the lower triangle. Then so we have two sides, triangle here with two sides and an included angle. Yan. So gamitin natin yung cosine law to solve for the resultant or itong side na to ng triangle. So the resultant is equal to square root of 500 squared plus 750 squared minus 2 times. I will no longer put the unit set to save space dito sa ating whiteboard. 750 cosine of 100 degrees. So the resultant is 970.946 Newton. So that's the resultant of the two forces. Okay. Next is to solve for the angle between the resultant force and the force Q. Okay. Angle between the resultant force and the force Q. So how do you solve for the angle between the resultant force and force Q? Saan ba yun? Itong angle na ito. This angle, let's say angle beta. So how do you solve for that particular angle? Okay, so we know that this angle, itong angle na to ay erase ko lang para mas maintindihan natin. So we know that this angle is 30 degrees. So basically we are solving for this angle beta. So how do you solve for the angle beta? Okay. So, paano isolve ang angle beta na yan? Okay. So you study the triangle. May mga given sa triangle natin. Nasolve na natin yung lahat ng sides, ano? Including the resultant. Ito. So we know this side, and the resultant was also solved a while ago. And we know this angle. Okay. So how do you solve for this angle beta? Angle between the resultant and the force Q. You may use cosine law to solve for this particular angle, but I think it would be easier for us to use na lang sine law to solve for this angle. So pag sine law, kailangan natin ng mga side and opposite angles, ano. So ito, sinusolve naman na natin yung resultant. Yung opposite angle na is 100 degrees. Ang side ng 500 newtons. The opposite angle is the angle beta, which is the unknown in this problem. So solve natin. So the resultant. So resultant is 970.946 divided by sine of 100 is equal to 500 over sine of beta. So beta is, ito yung angle natin. Beta is equal to, I think merong konting mali doon sa ating module. So let's try to solve angle beta. Ang sinolve kasi ng module natin is angle of the resultant relative to the x-axis, but the problem is telling us to solve the angle between the resultant and the force Q, so which is beta in this particular problem. Okay, so let's solve for the angle beta. That is equal to 30.473 degrees. So this is the angle between the resultant and the force Q. Okay, so yung nasa module natin, sinolve na yung angle of the resultant from the positive x-axis. You can also do that. Ano? So how do you solve for the angle of the resultant relative to x-axis? Ito yan. Yung angle na ito, let's say angle alpha, that's the direction of the resultant from the positive x-axis. So simple lang, pag alam na natin yung beta, and then this angle is 30 degrees. Okay. So angle alpha is simply the difference between beta and 30 degrees. So alpha is equal to 30.473 degrees minus 30 degrees. Then alpha is equal to 0.473 degrees. So this is the angle direction of R from the positive x axis. Ito yung direction naman ng R relative to Q is 30.473 degrees. So yan. So madali lang. Okay. So separate video will be uploaded again for the next illustrative problem. To see you sa next problem.